Okay, here we are. We're going to start now looking at the second to last chapter. We're going to be looking at family and the work world. And we're looking at this because this is an area of which the family, we're seeing dual income or we're seeing double career. And so as a result, there's more relationship between how do we parent and how we arrange our family when we have people involved with work. And it's really putting a lot more stressors on the family. And so in this particular chapter, we'll do this in two parts as well. And we're going to begin with, in the first one, we'll look at what is the current situation of families in the work world. And I'm going to show you a fair bit of data about that. And all this is in your textbook as well. And then in part two, we'll look at, well, what are the kind of ways in family life interact with work life? Excuse me. And then we'll look at what kind of care are available for dependent family members, because we're starting to look at, well, if you got family issues and you got work and you got sick family, then that complicates things much more. And then what are some of the effects of unemployment on the family? Now again, about sociological imagination is that sometimes unemployment is as a result of somebody doing poor work quality and is fired, but some of it is because of other outside issues. And so the sociological imagination is again about standing back and not personalizing everything based on our own experiences. And then lastly, what kind of family-friendly work arrangements can be made available to families? And we see a lot more options in today's world. Okay, so we're going to start off with the current situation of family in the work world. Okay, the first chart you're seeing is average hours of work per week. Now between 1987 in 2011, the average work week for individuals decreased from 37.5 to 36 hours. While this may suggest more personal time on an individual level, it's in fact the overall family work hours have increased because the number of dual earner families has increased. One family, two incomes is the new reality. More and more families are affected by the interplay between work and family responsibilities. A significant societal trend is increased number of women employed outside of the home. In contrast, labor force participation rate among men aged 15 and over to be declining slowly. In 1975, there were 52% of women aged 25 to 54 were part of the paid workforce. In 2009, there were 82%. So the new reality is one family, two incomes. This slide is looking at the employment trends between men and women, and as you're seeing between 76 and 2009. And if you look at the differences between men and women, you can see that women have increased pretty significantly over that period of time, and men have slowly been decreasing over that period of time. And when we look at the percentage of women as a percentage of the total employment, they've been gradually increasing over these years. Now, there's lots of reasons to explain that, and one of them certainly is economic difficulties for families to be successful on a single income. And so this has been expected and demanded, if you will, in terms of success of family, but it's put pressures on family as a result. So now what we're seeing in table 2.4 are the employment rates of women with children. And we're looking at it between 1976 and 2009. And in 2009, 69.7% of women with children, ages 3 to 4, in the paid labor force, nearly doubled the proportion in 1976. So you're looking at 36.8 in 1976 to 69.7 in 2009. As work and home responsibilities change, families must balance time and commitment demands of various roles. Work demands can influence the family and vice versa, either negatively or positively. Such influences as these negative and positive influences of work and family is what's called spillover. And we'll talk about that a little later. On table 2.3, you're seeing the family characteristics, single earner and dual earner families. The proportion of dual earner couple families rose steadily from 4% in the 70s to a bit over 60% in the 90s, when it began to level off. While the proportion of dual earner families has remained constant over the decade from 2000 to 2010, the median income of these families has increased by more than any other family type. So it's an important element. I mean, it's important that family members work, in particular parents, of course, to ensure the financial success of a family, but of course it brings with it the kinds of variables and factors that can influence the success of a family, not just in terms of the finances, but also in terms of the relationships. And so one of the ways in which this has been changing is in the changing roles. Homemaking was planning a traditional marriage put up but ends at the labor force. So the plan of a traditional marriage ended with the labor force. The always wanted careers, reluctant to become mothers and homemakers, and plan to have careers, but circumstances prevented this. So we've gone from having stay-at-home moms into having a changing role and expectation of being able to earn a career and contribute to a family. And more women have wanted to follow that path, where motherhood and careers becomes almost opposing forces. Paths chosen seem to depend on the stability of the marriage, the job opportunities, the ability of the woman's partner to earn enough so she can stay home, or how rewarding she considers homemaking. And so these changing roles between men and women in particular has really affected, family. And this has been a trend over time. This has begun back in the 50s and 60s where that has emerged. It's now becoming into its own with more women earning post-secondary education, following career paths, incurring debt the same as men do, and finding their career choices, starting families later. This is all changing the roles within a family, and this is partly due to work. The changing roles don't only just affect earning power, but it affects the household responsibility. Hard physical housework has been reduced through the introductions of utilities, the advent of the washing machine, the dishwasher, electricity, running water, all contributed to the hope that things would make things easier for women, in particular in the household. But of course, that didn't necessarily work out that way. Technology has made household work different rather than less. The amount of time spent on household work related to income levels, age and quality of housing, personal standards for meals preparation and cleanliness. Shift from wage earner husbands to dual earner families has not meant an equal shift in household responsibilities. Most housework is still done by women. Rather, led to conflict over how household work and childcare should be divided. Since men traditionally have not had to concern themselves with family care, some view housekeeping chores as unmasculine. Husbands tend to do the highest share of housework, about 35%, when partners' earnings are equal. When children are present, both parents assume more work. Couples do not need a 50-50 division of unpaid or paid work to be happy. However, they need to regard that their division is fair. And what is meant by that is, in household responsibilities, it doesn't matter that it's 50-50. What matters is that both feel that the distribution of responsibility based on the amount of work that is being done financially outside of the household is considered fair. And you'll find that different families will find what is fair at different points, and that's what's important. So by you looking at somebody else saying, well, it doesn't seem like he does very much, or how come you do more than she does, it doesn't matter that it's not based on what you think is right. It's based on what they feel is a reasonable division of labor. Now when we carry on with these changing roles, the role expectations start to change. Expectations of family members are a major stress in dual income families. Traditional ideals of family togetherness and quality time with children don't coincide with dual income families. Expectations of employers and fellow co-workers may be anti-family. You get asked to attend meetings at times of the day or at times when children are doing things that you are normally a part of and participating in and can't. Shift work can cause major stress in families. Given the many demands over their time, dual-earner couples often spend relatively little time with friends and extended family. When social networks are limited, families may experience low levels of social support, and thus feel higher levels of stress. And this is, if you will, transitional. We all haven't figured out how to do this well yet. We have some good examples, we have some bad examples, and we have people falling in the middle of how to make these adjustments to role, finances, while working in two-income families. Now, if we look at work and marital happiness, a study of working mothers found little connection between the fact that mothers worked and the marital satisfaction. When individuals worked nights or rotating shifts, marriages were at greater risk for separation. Another study found that women's perception that they carried unfair household responsibility in addition to their jobs was connected with marital dissatisfaction. When fathers are more involved with children, both spouses tend to rate their marriages as happier. And that's good news. So what we're going to do, we're going to carry on with this. This has been chapter 12, part 1. Just basically looking at what is the current situation for families in the work world. Now what I'm going to move is I'll go into part 2 and we'll finish up the rest of the chapter there. All right, so I hope this has been helpful and we'll see you in part 2.